you know. Such a pretty smile, I want to see it once in a while. But you were right for me. You were right for me.
All right. To all our listener out there, from coast to coast, and around the globe, it's time for Real Raw Recovery. I'm Joe Tilley from Newcastle, Ontario, Canada.
Tyler Chili Bangkok.
There you go. There you go. And we'd like to thank our listener and remind our listener to join us next week at the same time. We'll be back with another episode of Real Raw Recovery.
We just like to mention that our listeners are my mother. Mom, it's great.
Right.
Thanks for supporting our podcast.
Yes, thanks, Ma. It's good to have you aboard. We really appreciate your diligence. Okay, so I'm going to read from today's reading, and It is I am an instrument. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 70. The subject of humility is a difficult one. Humility is not thinking less of myself than I ought to. It is acknowledging that I do certain things well. It is accepting a compliment graciously. God can only do for me what he can do through me. Humility is a result of knowing that God is the doer, not me. In the light of this awareness, how can I take pride in my accomplishments? I am an instrument, and any work I seem to be doing is being done by God through me. I ask God on a daily basis to remove my shortcomings in order that I may more freely go about my AA business of love and service. Okay, so my first thought is you're probably not in agreement.
Why?
Well, because it's like, only because that sounds like something I'd say, and then you'd say, you can't just turn it all over to God. You got to live your life. You got to take some control here, not just, actually, you know what Father Martin said, Father Martin in one of his chalk talks on feeling said, people say, get out of the driver's seat and in the passenger seat and let God drive. And he says, if you do that, you'll crash. It's, there is a degree of humility that we have to have, but is it such that we completely turn it over and let God do all the work? And no, at some point we have to step in there and actually drive. We can get direction on maybe where to drive to, but if we just sit in the passenger seat and let God drive, we're gonna be crashing. That was his point, I think. What do you think about all that?
Yes, I think even for you to have like, even for your train of logic to be imagining that you got to let God take the wheel, is like, you're a fucking idiot. It's nonsensical scapegoating babble. I hate it. It has no place in my life. And here I wrote let me segue into this. I wrote a poem, Joe Tilley.
Okay, nice.
And I think it explains, I wrote it and I sent it to Mom.
Okay.
Because I think it explains I think it's like I get my cake and eat it, because what from the reading I got, the key word is humility. The second paragraph, I always feel like it's two different people writing this, but
it is, right? One's
right.
Bill Wilson, the other was,
But it kind of like, God can only do for me what he can do through me. Okay, like I'm not going to completely object to that. It doesn't, again, because that's not my hang up. Humility is the result of knowing that God is the doer, not me. That sentence right there starts to get weird. In the lightness of this awareness, how can I take pride in my accomplishments? I am an instrument of any work I seem to be doing is being done by God through me. Yeah, like there's just a bit of a disconnect between that sounds good, but that's not how it works. And here's what I wrote to Mom.
Okay.
I called it a poem, but it's just a train of thought. And I went for a walk today, and this is what I came up with, and I really wanted to share it with Mom because we often talk about this too. And
yeah,
are you with me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My brain concocted God. My brain imagines all of God's power and magic. Though my brain was given to me, it's purely a gift, perhaps from God. So what I'm saying is I'm making up God in my brain. Whatever God is, it's in my brain. There's that it's just that's is what it is. I can put coincidences together. I can create and fabricate how great and large God is beyond my wild imagination, whatever. But that's all coming through my thoughts. Those are all my thoughts creating what my vision or how God implements his or herself into my life. And then you kind of can grow from that and start to realize that God perhaps is just like Mother Nature. And then you can perhaps grow from that and start to believe that like just being alive and having this energy run through me is very godly or godlike. And then I thought like I want my cake and eat it too. So I'm very like hard nosed about my stance on like, okay, this is my brain operating and my conception of God created by me and his influence in my life created by me. And then I thought, but I didn't give myself a brain. So who did? And I thought, well, maybe God gave me a brain. So it's kind of like I want my cake and I want to eat my cake, have my cake and eat it too. But I just don't like the moment where I really appreciate the concept of turning your will and life over in the step work. I really appreciate it. I value it and I like where it has taken me. But where I live my life today, it's just expanded so much and it's kind of come full circle where, like, imagine God is just your best friend. Like,
okay.
Imagine you're your own best friend. Your best friend doesn't come into your body or become a puppet master or it's like you went through a hard fucking day because of the choices and your consequences of your decisions, cause and effect, your fucking life, your control. And then at the end of the day, you just need to talk to somebody, or you just need to know that you're not alone, or you just need to know, or maybe you need some advice, or maybe you need some peace of mind by knowing that you're going to be okay. Like whatever you're going to imagine your higher power is going to do for you. But the moment that you go like, it's a slippery slope. The moment you think that like that lightning bolt's for you, or that like it's almost in a way it's kind of narcissistic, like to imagine like, so it's just getting a really clear understanding of what God is. And that brings me back to a number of podcasts before where I told you my definition of God is when I'm connected to God, I take better care of myself. When I'm connected to my best friend, I'm in better spirits, therefore I take better care of myself. Or like, I'm going to keep the train going. I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'm going to keep on trucking. I'm going to keep living as best as I can. And because like at the drop of a hat, my eyes might not open again. Who fucking knows? Like, it sort of create this nonsensical stories of how magical, amazing, and wonderful God is usually like you're gonna do that when you're hurting because you can get it's a way to dig yourself out of a hole. There's a million ways to do that. It's not just about, there's a lot of different ways, and my brain figures it out. And then let's add, which it doesn't sound like a very humble statement, there are times where I'm only human and I don't know what the hell is going on. And I do turn to a higher power just to like get me through these moments of complete insanity or unknown. And then and it works. And there's a lot of times where that reaching out for a connection, to feel my energy, to meditate, to take care of myself, to go for a walk. Like sometimes maybe I'm so discombobulated where I need to reach out to a higher power. And in doing that, it relieves some tension in my brain, which then my brain can think more clearly.
Well, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is this. I think in order to recover from that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, we have to have a spiritual awakening. And what happens in that, we have to have that ego deflation. We have to smash that ego. And what happens is like, to me, it's like ego is more or less the opposite of what God is, right? Ego is my will versus God's will. And I believe that in order to recover, you have to smash the ego. And then to live in recovery, live as a recovered person, it's impossible to live ego free. So you have to allow yourself to those parts of ego that aren't damaging, that aren't going to hurt us, that the ego stuff that we can live with, that we're comfortable with, that we feel we can go about our business and be okay with. That's what we have to sort of allow ourselves. Because I mean, if I'm going to be I can strive for perfection with the acknowledgement that I'm never going to get there, so that I don't get frustrated by a lack of perfection, by my lack of perfection, because I don't want to be frustrated either. I don't want to be in a place where I feel bad because I'm not perfect, and I'm trying really hard to be perfect, and I'm working so hard at this perfection, and I get so mad because I can't be. That's not good. It's like it's humility to me is that sense that understanding that I'm not perfect and it's okay. I'm doing the best I can with what I got, and it's okay. I allow the ego to take over from time to time, and it's okay. I allow my ego to take over in ways that it really doesn't even harm me, and maybe it even helps me. I don't know. But in early recovery, for certain, until we get to a point where we've reached the spiritual, that spiritual awakening, I have to crush my ego, because my ego has been in charge for all my life. And I mean, even if I'm a religious person and I've been following my religion religiously, I'm an alcoholic or an addict or whatever I have for my addiction. It's because there's been ego involved in that, and I have to get out of that ego and learn how to smash the ego by turning it over to a power greater than myself. And that's, I believe, the only way to smash the ego. For me, that means like getting on my knees and asking for help. I mean, that's part of my routine, and it's part of my ego deflation, and it works for me. because I'm telling myself, my ego, it's a real like blatant ego smashing maneuver, getting on my knees and asking for help and saying, screw you, ego, you know, you're not in charge here. And just that action, doing that, allows me to have that sense of, you know, of that sense that I'm pushing the ego aside and I'm allowing the power to take over. That's why it's so important for me to do that. And I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. I can only speak for myself. But I believe I need to do that. And when I do that, I feel better. So why not do it?
Okay, right. So when I do that, I feel better. That's what and then like, it's kind of like what I'm questioning is, by listening to what you said, is right at the tail end. When I do that, I feel better. I agree. I agree 100%. When I do that, what I do, in theory, similar to what you're suggesting, I do, whether it's praying on my knees or otherwise. But what I'm questioning, and what I've been questioning for a long time, and
don't question me.
No, but listen. Whoa, come on! Are you a drone? Are you part of the? Are you one of Darth Vader's underlings? Are you what are those things called? Those white guys?
I don't know what they're called.
I think
maybe
they're
the drones. I
drones.
don't know. Maybe drones. I don't know.
Okay.
Drones before drones were drones. Okay.
Well,
Yep.
That's got to be the name of this podcast. Don't question anything. Oh my!
Don't question anything I say.
Don't question anything. Oh my God! That's kind of that's why this podcast is going to work. Because if you're going to hold on to that mentality, I'll never be able to get on board with that. That is so absurd. I just can't even. I don't even know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. Don't question it. Don't question. Come on. My whole journey for the last 9 years have been questioning everything, and it's been paramount and meaningful. And so, anyways, when you say, I'll go back to my point. When you say, when I turn my life over and then he does everything, it's like, no, you're gonna do everything and claim that it's God, and that's fine. But as long as you know, like I also can't let this go because we don't know. But it's kind of like if somebody is half mentally challenged, or somebody who doesn't know anything, or is insane, I should say.
Well, Son of Sam, right? Son of Sam had a dog told him to go kill people, and he didn't question it, right? And he didn't bounce that off somebody else. He just, the dog just said to kill some people, so he did. So clearly, that's I was just being facetious when I said don't question.
No, nice try. You're pedaling so hard.
No, I'm not. I thought that was pretty obvious that I was just being facetious when I said don't question.
All right.
I think if you go back and listen, you'll realize that
I will.
That. I thought it was funny. Yeah.
It is funny. It seems kind of like I thought when you said I'm questioning after you say like you take my will in my life, and you said don't question it as in you don't need to.
No, it was just like an authoritative funny dig, like don't question me, right?
Okay.
Like that was what I was saying.
Oh.
And I was being facetious, but it's okay. It got a good response from you, so it was good.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Because I thought you were serious.
And it is something to know. It is something we should always question stuff that, I mean, does it sound like a really good idea? Like, I mean, I get this idea and it sounds like a really good idea, but if I don't bounce it off some people that I respect, you always talk about your counsel, right? You like to go to your counsel when you have an idea or you want to bounce something off people, and it'll, even though it seems like an incredible idea at the time, once you bounce it off somebody, you might find that maybe it's not such a good idea, right?
So no, I thought you were serious about that. Don't question.
Don't question. No.
Wow.
No. I don't know why I said that. It just came out of my mouth.
Well then,
it felt like being funny. It felt like being funny, I just did, and I did. So there you go.
Well, now you.
And it was very funny.
Because I thought that was.
No, really it was very funny though. It was very funny.
Yeah. No.
And you know what? Like, so can you do me a favor? Can you read your poem / the thing you wrote for Mum?
Yes. My brain concocted God. My brain imagines all of God's power and magic. Though my brain was given to me, it's purely a gift, perhaps from God.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, wow. I'm just another human being, and humility to me, in a simple form, is like just not being better than anyone and not being less than, just being in the same planet with the rest of us mongoloids. And it's kind of like, being on the planet with the rest of us being chimps with money and machine guns. Someone said that, yeah. And so it's just kind of like putting us like in a humble state of like, I don't know everything. I don't want to claim I know everything. I just, based on my experience and my personal growth and my connection with and to understanding with what a God is and isn't, is pretty important. And then I thought, like, okay, so my brain's so smart, and my brain concoct what God is and creates the fantasy of God. But I didn't create my brain. I didn't make my brain. It was given to me. And I thought, who would give me a brain? And like, God might give me a brain.
Yeah.
But I thought it's kind of like I got my cake and I get to eat it too, because I do believe there's magic in life. I don't believe it's all for nothing, but right. I just don't like the mentality of turning shit over. And I don't like the mentality of no control. And I don't like, because I don't mind being on an even playing field and going like, yeah, these like cause and effect, and these are the consequences of my actions, and this is life on life's terms. That has nothing to do with God. It's like God could tell me something in my ear and I do or don't do it. It doesn't do anything. And if one day I go, I don't believe in God, the world doesn't stop spinning. And as you said, but when I do get on my knees and I do make a connection, I feel better. And that I agree with. But it has nothing to do with like what my next steps are. I've just made a connection that makes me feel better. So in theory, my next steps are going to be better steps because I have a bit of a foundation for today, because I've made an initial contact with the Great Spirit. And by making a connection and realizing, maybe stating a few things I'm grateful for, it puts me in a good headspace and a good position to take on my relationships and my personal relationship with myself and to manage my life.
Yeah, but I know, and so it's so important to come to that place where I believe in something, because my mind is a muddled, jimbo jab jorch of mess, especially like when I'm out there in my cups, as they say, in my addiction. My mind is all muddled and jumbled and messed up, and I can't think properly. I can't think sanely, and I'm chasing whatever. and I need to change that. I need to get out of that. So that's why it's so important to have a power greater than myself that I can turn to and ask for help and just get out of this craziness inside my head, that just does not serve me. It's a brain that doesn't work. It's a brain that doesn't work. And as long as I believe that there's no power, and I believe that I'm the power, or believe that I have all the control, or whatever what is, as long as that's the case, I don't think I can ever get well.
So if you're insinuating that I think that I have all the power.
No, I'm not insinuating that at all.
Okay.
I'm just saying that I don't think that you have all the power, and I don't think that you believe that you think you have all the power. But I think what happened.
You cut out. Hello. Hello.
Oops, shoot. Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi. Sorry. So, let me just fix this.
You're still not there.
How's that? Is that better?
Keep
Can you
talking.
hear me now?
No.
Can you? No.
Well,
Okay,
you're just
one
not as
second.
loud.
Okay. Okay. So I got to look at something here. It's my audio. It's got something going on here. I got to turn my glasses on. Sorry. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the little mix up there. Okay. So when I I think, like I said earlier, I think that at some point you had to turn your will and life over. You came to that realization, right?
Yes.
I believe that you did that. We all do that. We all do that in order to recover. But gradually we allow parts of our ego to come back in, right? Maybe not necessarily intentionally, but gradually. I mean, again, it's like we don't become that person who says, okay, I'm gonna get in the passenger seat and let God drive, right? I mean, that's we have to drive, but we get guidance, and we look for guidance and to find out where we're driving to, where our destination is. That's what I believe, and so that's what I kind of assumed maybe that you were saying that there's a certain amount of ego that we have to have. I mean, we can't be ego free. There's a certain amount of ego that we have to have in order to really function in this world, because we can't be completely ego free. We can try, but maybe there are some Buddhist monks who are pretty close to ego free, but I don't think I can be there, and I don't think I want to be there. So that's so we operate within this material world with a certain amount of materialness, a certain amount of ego involved. But for me, I think my goal is to try to keep that ego business limited. And try to be look to the power as much as I can while still functioning in this material world, right? Because there are some material things that I really enjoy, right? And I think because I'm human, I do have an ego. Sure, like you said, God gave me the brain, but the brain's not perfect. And when we, as we, early in our, especially for addicts, alcoholics, like early in our lives, we have a lot of screwed up stuff going on in our brains. And then in recovery, we try to change that and be more sane. So does that make sense to you?
Well, it sounds.
It's all like a real strong attempt. Like in recovery, to me, it's like a real strong attempt to give up the ego, to relinquish the ego, to really a really strong attempt to turn my life over to a power, whatever that happens to be, and then a gradual recovery maybe of some ego that suits me, that fits my material being. Does that make sense?
Well, I just feel like you mentioned a little while back now that like you too look for guidance, right? And you feel like you get connected. You mentioned me having a counsel, and
Yeah.
you get guidance. Like, so you don't drive the bus, you get guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you said works for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm questioning is when you use words like you have no control, like getting guidance from a great spirit or a higher power or God is a lot different than saying I have no control. It's all like out of my hands.
Yeah.
So so that like you can get me on board when you start talking about looking for guidance and answers outside of yourself and knowing that you don't have all the answers. I'm on board. The moment you start going though, and then after that, as if like it's not you driving, it doesn't make sense to me. You're driving, you're in control. If the tree happens to fall and you hit it because you didn't swerve, or a pedestrian runs in front of the car, that's your call. And then you can look to God to help you sort it out. But like, there's no, again, like, I don't like getting too far away from what's really going on this planet.
Right. And this reading says, God can only do for me what he can do through me. Humility is a result of knowing that God is the doer, not me. In the light of this awareness, how can I take pride in my accomplishments? I'm an instrument, and any work I seem to be doing is being done by God through me. I ask God on a daily basis to remove my shortcomings in order that I may more freely go about my AA business of love and service. And I think that some of that, like a lot of that is I agree with. But when I read it, I realized that for sure you're going to have problems with that. It's funny that I guess that was kind of in a sense a little bit codependent, isn't it? Thinking about what you're thinking to think of it. But anyway, I you know, and only like I obviously I don't know if I can buy into God as a doer, not me. I can't say that I fully buy into that. I have to do the do. I have to get, look for the guidance and then do what I think is right. And I'm the doer, not God. I believe that. But I also believe that, that things happen the way they're supposed to. I believe that, that, that things happen the way they're supposed to, not by mistake. They just happen the way they're supposed to. And inside that kind of, because I it's just reality. Just things happen the way they're supposed to in God's world.
See, I believe that things just happen.
Right.
So
therefore,
I don't.
But they happen the way they happen the way they're supposed to because they happen.
But that's
like fighting reality. Reality always wins.
If you want to talk about ego, that's your ego telling you they happen for a reason. Because the reality is things happen. Your ego says they happen for a reason. The reality is things happen. And your ego says, oh, they happen for a reason. Okay, so that you can digest life. And people use God so they can digest life. And as you said earlier, it makes you feel better. So you do it. And I agree with that because it's easier to digest life thinking that there's a great thing looking out for you. But that's also your ego. That's your ego, because the moment you start going, okay, the moment you start trailing away from reality in order to digest life is, in one hand, foolhardy, on the other hand, very beneficial. So it's kind of like, you just gotta, all I'm saying is what I'm questioning at all times in my life is to be able to acknowledge that. That's all I'm saying. Is I'm just saying, please acknowledge the fact of what you're actually doing by using that kind of logic and that mentality, because you said it perfectly, and I can pinpoint it right now. Things happen, ... for a reason. I'm saying things happen. Now, I want to believe that things happen for a reason. My ego wants to believe that, because God damn it, it's a lot easier to digest life if everything happens for a reason, happens for me. Because the moment you think otherwise, it causes more problems perhaps. So it's more beneficial to believe that there's this great being, this great denomination that takes care of me.
Well, I know that when I decided, earlier when I was in my sickness, I believe, I would try to make things happen and get so frustrated because I couldn't make things happen. And I would try to control situations, and I get so frustrated because I couldn't control situations. But I just want to read this one paragraph here that's in the big book here that I like to refer to it. A lot of people refer to this paragraph. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world, as in what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes. So that's the that paragraph on acceptance that you'll hear people refer to frequently, and I like to refer to it because I really like what it's saying here, and it's it takes the pressure off me. It takes the pressure off me. It's easier to live if I live on believing all that. But I also think it's true, because when I fight reality beats the shit out of me. So why would I want to fight reality? Why would I want to believe that something shouldn't be the way it is? And I mean, maybe we're saying the same thing, but I think, because I say everything should be the way it is, and you say everything is the way it is. And I don't think maybe we're splitting hairs here. Maybe we're saying the same thing in a different way, but ultimately it comes down to, I can't fight reality. When I fight reality, I suffer.
Okay, so I can break it down further. So I think in some cases we're saying something, and other cases we're not. So that acceptance paragraph is great. But did you notice, like, they add in like those two sentences or two phrases that in God's world, everything happens for a reason. If you completely took that out, that paragraph would still make complete sense, and it's a complete rational thought. It's a complete rational thought without the element of God in that. For me to accept things as they are is rational.
Okay, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it to you again without that line. Okay, it's just one line. Okay.
Okay.
And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy.
Right.
I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes.
That is a 100% rational, logical train of thought, and I 100% agree with it.
So it's when you bring into the nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake.
It just
That's what
it
he
need
alludes
that.
to, right?
And so, like, okay, so but the reason to be honest, for me personally, you can leave that sentence in. I like it. It's a nice sentence. To some degree, I believe in some of that logic. What I'm just saying is, I'm going to pull it back to saying, I really think there's something in this whole like, I really want to beat this to death, and it is everything happened. Or no, what did you say?
Nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Is that
No,
what you're talking about?
no. Shit. I said dot dot dot. Like it.
Right.
No, sorry. Things happen, and then you said things happen for a reason. And I said, in my
Things just, yeah.
things
Yeah.
happen, and
Right.
and so
Okay.
I'm going to pull still. I'm still in the AA realm, or in the 12-step realm.
Recovery realm, right?
Yeah, recovery realm, by saying, I was at a meeting and there was a guy in his late 70s, and it happened to be that the last thing I ever heard him say, and it was 2 weeks before he died. I didn't know that at the time. He was sharing at a meeting, and it was kind of like a message that just blew my mind, and it must have been around the 10 years ago, or 8 to 10 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
But it still holds, it's still worth its weight in what? Gold?
Sure.
What's anyway, and he said this. His name was Donald. And a lot of people looked up to Donald. Donald was not a wingbat. He had a good following, and he had a good presence, and I think he was a powerful member. And it was in Toronto, and he said, you don't get what you want, you don't get what you need, you get what you get.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, because it's the moment, it's the same thing as saying things happen. And then we like to say things happen ... for a reason.
Yeah. And you know what? I tell you something, it does happen for a reason. And the reason, again, I'm going to refer to this book here again. And it says here in this chapter, Working with Others, it says, your own experience, your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. So, and it's not, and to me, it's not just our drinking experiences, but it's all of our experiences make us uniquely useful to help other people. So everything that happens to us happens to allow us to be helpful to others. And that really helps me. It helps me a lot when I think about, Spencer's death, right? It helps me a lot to realize, to understand that all of this, everything that happened to us as a family and to him, and it makes us all uniquely useful to be helpful to other people, because only people who experience that same stuff have the ability to help other people who are going through the same stuff. And so that, that's kind of, that stuff has happened. So in the way you say it, stuff happens. And then I say, yes, stuff happens. and then stuff happens for a reason because we have this uniquely this ability to be uniquely useful. And if we didn't have the ability to be uniquely useful, we wouldn't be able to help people who've gone through the same kind of things.
You're talking about like your ego. And if
okay.
no.
Why is that the ego though?
Because the ego adds thing. The ego is like, So what I'm saying is if you really want to smash the ego, it's not things happen for a reason. If you truly want to smash the ego, then you would have to get to square one, which is things happen. The moment you indicate that things happen for a reason, that's your ego saying that. Because that's not true. Things happen.
Well, I think things happen because of my reasons.
No, things
That
happen.
would be ego.
Things happen, and then you deal with them, and you transmute them, and you can utilize them, and you can find the good in things, and you can use your experiences to benefit others. But things just happen. You get what you get.
Okay. And
the moment you go, things happen for a reason, is like, no, well, okay, so again, if you want to smash the ego, that story's got to go. That's a story you're telling yourself. That story's got to go. Things just happen. Like the flowers grow, the sun comes up, the moon, like things just happen. I can't explain it. The moment I think I can explain it is my ego. That's my ego. Oh, wait, everything happens for a reason. This is God's will. Da 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 da. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Calm down. I don't know. How dare I imagine I know what's going on? That's my ego.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Right? Like for me to imagine that God has a master plan that's a story. And that story, we've admitted, both of us, is helpful. But it's a story. And my ego wants to believe in it because it relieves suffering. But who fucking really knows? And if you want to smash the ego, things happen. I breathe and then I die. Like, get really real and raw level, and at the baseline, I don't know what's going on. We're on a floating rock in the sky that spins around the sun that we know of, that we can, there's not much else. So all I know is if you really want to smash the ego, things happen. The ego gets involved and says, things happen for a reason. And you go, that's nice. Things do happen for a reason. And then you go on about your day.
Mm-hmm.
So up to you. But all I know is that if you're talking about the ego, if you really want to smash it, what did Gandhi say? The most powerful thing you can say is, I know nothing.
Yeah.
So I just think that if you want to, again, that's what Donald was saying in the meeting. He was saying, you don't get what you want, you don't get what you need, you get what you get. And then you build from that. That's not a bad thing. It's not a sad thing. It's nothing, actually. It's just life. Life on life's terms, even. It just is what it is. And you can have really rough experiences in addiction, in life, in whatever, and then you can build stories around that makes it valuable, and then hopefully valuable to somebody else. And then you can throw the cap on it, like, yeah, it was all worth it, or it was all for something. But things just happen, and how you build off of that and what you do with that information as it's happening, and then to finally pull it all the way back, it makes a lot better sense. It's more sensical to tap in to something that adds relief and structure in your life, like a God, before you start your day, because then you'll manage your day better. But you're going to manage it. You're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to walk in front of a bus or you're not. Like, it's your call. It's your life. and things happen. And what you do with those happenings is your scoop. That's if you want to throw a story on it to make you feel better, that's your call.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's maybe it is ego. I don't know. Maybe it's something like ego. Maybe it's like more like a defense. But it is what it is, right? And so I just got one thing to say. Don't question me.
Don't question anything. So, and I'm how I bring in, I think it's important to say how I bring in God, because there are some miraculous things that happen, especially in 12-step programs. So just to kind of bring it on, so you don't think I'm just going on this, I'm abandoning all philosophy of 12 steps. It's not true. I do believe that people are given second chances, and that in itself is miraculous. And there is, God does work through people. Like it's a beautiful thing that people have energy, and people caring for one another. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And looking at yourself and how you've been living and bringing in essentially a power to help you through a transition in your life where you're going to let go of mood altering substances, and then grabbing onto a program of living along with a tribe that you now belong to. And now you start on this path where you start to make changes and you don't do the same behaviors, and then you kind of correct your wrongs, and and then you share your experiences with others, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's very godly, and in many cases it's miraculous. So I do see the power that works through that whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not abandoning that. All I'm saying is that, like, I just want to get real and honest about what's really happening, and not leaving it up to, like,
Not getting in the passenger seat and letting God drive.
well, no, but also just not some things cannot be explained. I will admit, but some things certainly can be, and some things are gray, and it's just like, so it's just looking at all angles, and then growing as well, and moving on from old ideas, and trying out new concepts, maybe going back to basics never hurts. It's just about growing and changing constantly. And I never have thought like this before, especially in the last 5 years. Like, for me to be growing in this direction is so beautiful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it's just, and I just know, like, what God's capable of, what I'm capable of, not totally, like, there's a lot of unknown, but, like, in general, like, my day to day is what I'm going off of. And I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with examining, like, how my life has been on this planet for 36 years, and taking that knowledge and what, like, unless we get invaded by aliens, or there's a global flooding like Noah's Ark, you can start going kind of like, okay, how am I going to navigate what's in front of me, because I have this experience, because things happen, and then you do,
right,
with what happens, because there are times in my life still, I will say things happen for a reason. I will still say that. I don't completely object to that.
Right.
But I just know that like when I'm doing that, I want to take a really good look at why I would say that and what's that doing for me and why am I using that concept? Is that the best tool in my tool belt for this situation to say things happen for a reason? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess that can change, right? Things happen, or things happen for a reason. I guess that can change, depending where you're at the time. All right, let's wrap this up. Ready?
Yeah.
God,
God.
grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference.